Okay, this is your new two-line Fillmaster 5000 cartridge filler. And we figured we're getting ready to ship it, so we figured we'll make a quick video, show you just real fast, go over the basics, and then go over some of the specifics to this machine. I think it'll be a big help when you start running it. So I guess we're going to come over to the side here. Here's the side of the machine. This is where our air is connected. So you get, the air is connected here. This is an on-off for the, if you want, air is now on. Now it's off. If you're ever working on a machine, if you have it apart, take the air, turn the air off, and I would disconnect the hose so that I'll show you a part later that's just for safety. You don't want the air on in case it rotates while you're working on it. But anyway, while we're back here, the air is off. This is your quantity adjustment. I think you're going to be, this is a readout of where you are in your stroke. I think you're going to be around here, 6 something. But when you start getting this thing ready to run, the first thing you should do really is establish your target weight, and then make your other adjustments from there. So you want to set this so that you're dispensing the proper amount, and then I'll show you how to time the lift table in. So anyway, if you want more, this is a seal nut. Loosen this, and if you want more, turn this counterclockwise. That's where the numbers are coming up. If you want less, we'll go less. Usually better to start out light anyway. And then tighten this up. You don't usually need a wrench for this. I just hand tighten it. But if this is a seal washer, and sometimes you may be leaking out the back slightly. Typically hand tight's good enough, but sometimes you want to go a little more. But I wouldn't bother with that until you establish your proper weight. Okay, since we're here, this is a speed control for this is the intake stroke of the machine. This controls how fast the pistons pull the product into the machine. Now this one controls the dispensing speed, how fast it pushes it out. And if you want to speed things up, if you want to dispense faster, turn this counterclockwise like that. And if you want to go slower, there's a little lock ring here. Let me get that out of the way. This locking ring. If you want to go slower, turn it clockwise. So that'll slow down how fast you're dispensing. All right, moving on. As I said, we're going to go quick. So this little tab here actuates this switch. It tells the machine when it's completed its forward stroke, and it sends it back home. Just nothing you should really have to deal with, but okay, moving on. This is your single cycle continuous switch. Right now it's in the single cycle mode. That means that the foot pedal actuates it. Tell you what I'll do, since I'm here, let me turn the air on. I'll turn this into the continuous mode switch, and it'll cycle by itself. So that's that. I guess worth mentioning, if you wanted to run this, I'm not sure how your production is going to work, but if you wanted to run this continuously, somebody's gonna have to be pretty fast loading and unloading these. If you wanted to buy yourself some time in between cycles, you could turn this speed control in. You could turn it in to slow that down, because this thing, the machine, I say, this sensor here tells the machine when the pistons are fully retracted, and it starts the next cycle. So if you wanted to buy a little more time in between cycles, you could slow it down here very easily, and do it that way. But you better have tubes in there. So But if and also if you're running manually, you could speed that up some. This isn't as fussy as an adjustment as the dispensing speed, and the reason is that you want to, as you're dispensing the product, you want the tube to follow the product down as it's being filled, so that you get an air-free fill. So the way we do that, let me show you this table in operation by itself. What you'll see is that you hit the pedal. If you hit the pedal, the start of the sequence is the lift table comes up. Then the machine starts to dispense the product, and the lift table begins to drop. And then I'll show you. I'll hit the pedal. It'll come up. Now I don't know if you can see it here. There's a cylinder here. This cylinder here stops the descent of the cartridges at roughly the top of the fill line. I'm going to show you what. And what that will do, that allows for a little bit of little wiggle room in our speed. But okay, I'll show you. I'm loading the containers. These are locating pins for the nose end of the containers, and then this upper plate captures them. So they're in there. They're in there pretty good. They're against there. I'll just show you that again. Now I'll show you a fill. The table will come up, and we want the crossbar speed to be finished filling roughly at the time when this table comes down and hits that secondary stop cylinder. So I'll say it's roughly set right now. And you can tell it's done filling when this shifts. This is the valve, the main valve. This stainless body, that's the main valve, and this is what we call the pallet, the rotating part. And you can see it'll come up, it opens, fills, we're done, it's down. Now let's say the way to adjust this, there's two ways. What we want to do, we want to make sure that these are synchronized pretty well. That is the dispensing speed and the drop of the table. Now the drop of the table is speeded up or slowed down by this control here. Now what I'll do, these all work the same as far as if you want to go faster, turn them counterclockwise, looking at the top of it, or and slower, turn it in clockwise. Now I'll drop this, I'll turn it counterclockwise, and I'll speed up the drop, and you'll see the difference. That's coming down too fast. Do it again. Yeah. Now there's two things we could do here. That's actually really fast, but we could speed up the fill speed, or we could slow the drop down. All right, I'll slow it back down a little bit. It's still a little fast, but I'm going to go a little slower, so I'm turning it in, cranked it in. Still dropping too fast. Now the other option here, I can speed up the fill. I'll show you that. I'm going to come around here. We'll speed him up a little bit. I'll turn this counterclockwise. That might be too much. That looks about where you want to be. That's really the most, I guess, inside baseball thing you need to know about this machine. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to leave it there for now. Maybe I'll slow it down for when we ship it. You probably want to start out a little slow, But that should be about ultimately where you're going to end up. I'll show you. Okay, I'm going to turn the air off. I'm taking the air hose off because this was the part I think I mentioned earlier in the video. I might have done that before you were ready. This pin here, this connects the pallet air cylinder. That's that guy to the pallet crank. It's fighting me a little bit. Why? Oh. That was like that. So I'm just going to show you this spool here. Get him out of the way. To remove the pallet, which the only time you'll have to do this is if you need to replace these O-ring seals. This is the pallet spool. It has 2 O-rings. Usually it's good to wet them with a little bit of lubricant before you install it. And the reason that this, if you have the hopper off or either of these, either the cylinder or the nozzle, if you have them off and those ports are exposed, if God forbid anything gets down there and that turns, it'll keep turning, put it that way. So be safe with that guy. As you're putting this through, it's a good idea to go very gentle and rotate it because it has to go past the other ports. You could actually leave that O-ring off and slide it all the way through. In fact, that's the way I did originally put this together. Oops, went too far. So I put that in there. Now this guy goes down in that groove. That's all you need to do. This rod end here has a little bit of a cutout here. That goes against the valve. When you see it, it'll be pretty self-explanatory. Okay, that's that. Now there's O-rings in, 1 O-ring and there's pistons in here. I'll quick pop one off since we're here. This video wasn't so quick, was it? Sorry about that. There's an O-ring there. Other one's same. And there are, maybe it's best that I'll come around the other side and show you in the cylinders. There's O-rings here. I'll pull this back and show you. Oh, okay, that's they're not exposed. The O-rings are behind there. But there's 2 O-rings on the piston head. I don't think it's when you see the machine, you'll know exactly what's going on. To change these out, remove these two nuts and slide the piston rod forward, and then take the whole thing out. Full tour here. Also, another thing while we're here, these the reason there's 2 nuts here. This is we call a micro adjustment. You can, if you leave a little gap here, what it will do essentially is it'll lessen the stroke of one cylinder related to the other. So if you find that this guy he's filling heavier than this, you could make very, very slight adjustments using this. Typically, they should pretty much do the same thing all the time. So anyway, he's loose. Slide that forward, and then there's the rings. And then you know when you have to change the rings out to reinstall is obviously the reverse of what you just did. We'll put them in there. First thing I do is so that I personally don't forget, I put a nut on there so you don't start the machine with that halfway on. Push this forward, make sure that our gasket is properly seated. Put him on. Turn him. Okay, now I'll pull him back. Now, what typically to start off with, what I do, you don't really have to cinch these nuts all the way up. This guy's fighting me a little bit. What's going on? Yeah, put him up. I don't crank this real tight against the crossbar. I'll pull the piston back. This isn't, what I'm saying now is not that critical. If you tighten it up against the crossbar, it's not a problem. What I typically do is pull the piston rod back against the bar, make contact and back it off just the slightest bit. Then, this is just the starting point. If you need the micro adjustment, then you can, whatever cylinder's filling heavy, you can leave a little gap there, but I don't think you shouldn't have to do that. And then I'll hold this one still and lock that up, lock one against the other, and then ready to go.